Hello, everyone. Good evening. Is my lovely Marion here tonight?
Hello.
Let me see. Marion, hi. Hi.
Hi. I'm not in there yet, am I?
I'm not in. You're not in here yet, but we're working on it. We're working on it. So,
You have to click on me to join the stream. Join
yeah.
the. Is it not working?
You are here as a little one. my little friend. There's another button which is not being shown me at this point.
Okay.
Okay. Scrolling is always very good. We did it. So, hi. Yay. Wow. Marion, hi. So you've had another busy day and did you manage to make your tea before
No.
you sat down? Do you have to run off and fill your cup?
Yeah, I can do that in a minute because we've got a nice little surprise coming up.
Okay, the kettle is boiled. So I made my tea. I've got this really, really sweet little milk jug here. And my tea is all made. So I'm just going to pour some milk. So if you're joining us tonight live, do get a cup of tea. You've got time to grab your tea before we start. So it's always worthwhile. You know what? I've noticed that everybody's doing this video with coffee, this coffee talk. So Dr. Ruby in America, she does her little coffee chats. And now we've got, Mark.
With his morning coffee, morning campers.
Morning campers coffee, yes. And but we started it with our afternoon cup of tea, didn't we?
Yeah, we started it.
Yeah, we started it. So anyway, do get your tea because we've got some fun things to share and some serious things to share. And we're very happy to be here tonight. So yes, and we haven't done our usual, should we check Facebook and should we check YouTube? So I can see some people have joined us. So can you just
messages so we don't need to check, do we?
Yeah, well, let's just see. So who have we got here? Debbie is here, and so that's on Facebook. So she's live. Hi, Debbie. Hi. Did you get your tea?
Have you got a cup of tea? Right, I'm going to go and get mine.
You go and get your tea. So campers. So hi, Jack. Have you got your tea or did you get your beer? I think you were going to get a beer, weren't you? But yes, there may be problems with that. And wonderful. So Facebook is YouTube is live and clear on both. Thank you, Jack. That's so helpful to let us know. And Renee is here. Renee, hi. Did you get a tea? Have you got your cup of tea? Do join us. So you've got a moment to get your tea if you haven't done so far. So I'm just going to stop any dinging on my phone to interrupt us. That might interrupt us on this little time we spend together because I've got a very, very dingy computer here. So hopefully it's not going to ding. I do have this thing, I don't know why it is, my children laugh at me that I always have multiple things open, a million things open on my laptop. So
it's a representation of how you organize your thoughts. Because if you think about it, the way we organize information outside of us, it's just an extension of our mind, isn't it? It's a place to store the information that's not inside us, but it shows us how our mind organizes things.
Yeah. I've always got everybody talks about my having dozens of plates spinning at the same time. So I do organize. You've got lots of tea with a lovely heart. How do you do that? How do you do that thing that everybody does? I don't know how they do it. Anyway.
I've got one on my cup.
you've got, that's what I was referring to, beautiful heart on your cup. So yes, I do have this ability to organize at a big level with spinning lots. Oh, beautiful. That's how you do it. Well, mine looks more like a parallelogram or something. So sending lots of hearts to everybody.
How you feel it. How you feel it's important.
Yeah. So I guess in my mind, I have got lots of tabs open the whole time, and yeah, and the computer represents that. Anyway, that's all an aside, and I'm always pulling in all this different information and looking at what's going on all sorts of levels. So before we start, because I know you have something really fun to share, Marion, Debbie has said that you have a Kathy McGowan hairstyle today.
Me in my 70s, my 60s, 70s hairstyle.
Yeah. So Marion, do you want to tell us what you've been doing today?
What I've done today is, I think what I've done today. I actually did quite a long meditation thing, this process this morning, with Tremaine around the feeling into no self-esteem, like worthless, pointlessness. Feeling into that and looking at what alternatives I want. Like, you know, creating future imagery where that self-esteem looks more like my reality, my beingness is reflecting that self-esteem rather than just your mind and your personality. So yeah, that's what we were doing today.
Was it an easy process? Do you have difficulty?
It's not, because you go to really uncomfortable feelings. It's quite difficult not to get the mind involved when you're in uncomfortable feelings and let them express something without throwing thoughts all over them.
And judgments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing this right, or
And just feeling awkward. We've got so many avoidance strategies. We avoid the void, and the void is the truth of all reality, as we know.
Yeah.
The deepest truth.
And getting a glimmer of something, or the universe is trying to reflect something back to us, and we don't want to see it. So we kind of try to kind of push it away, or not own it, or because to own it is too painful, or to
We don't even know what it would be like to own it, because we can't even go there, isn't it? That's the thing. So if we did own it, what would we be able to do as well? It's like this avoidance doesn't even, it blocks our capacity to build resources, doesn't it? Or resourceful behaviors, resourceful thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, because, and the other thing is there's always a judgment. So if there's something and we're trying to avoid it, we're judging ourselves. We're avoiding it because it's bad, it's painful. It means we're not good enough, and therefore we can't take on board subtle changes that we might need to make because we've massively judged in the first place. And if somebody tries to reflect or tell us, then again it's like, oh, that person is attacking me.
Yeah.
So then life brings up things that turns you to face those bits of yourself. I mean, that's the healing process of life, isn't it? That it will endlessly bring up reflections within our environment, within our experiences, and move us into opportunities where we can begin to integrate fragmented parts of ourselves. And then we have situations. Thomas Hubel talks about those irritating things. If you meet an irritating person, what is that person triggering in me today? Yeah. So like, instead of projecting out, and it's like, oh, this really irritating bad person. Why did you get triggered by it? You know, which bit? Where's the
what's your irritated self showing you?
Yeah, where's the fragment in here that is being irritated, and you know, are you going to have a judgment, or are you going to be compassionate around that part and bring it in and love it and integrate it? You know? Which is the EFT, isn't it? Even though I have this.
Yeah, the setup phrase. Even though this is part of my reality, I'm learning how to love and accept myself. So even though whatever the part of reality is that I'm not liking, I'm learning to love and accept myself. So yeah, you break down the judgment from the reality. It's here, you just state it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can dive into the emotional packages with the EFT.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's astounding once you begin to get that shift on an emotional level, and the body starts to change as well.
Yeah, the posture changes. It's like with yoga, and it works the other way as well, doesn't it? When people do practice a lot of yoga and they do it really consciously with your own postural needs in mind, it absolutely changes the way you feel as a person, so you behave differently. And
Yeah.
so those different behaviors then maintain the new posture as well. And yeah, that's what the self-esteem stuff is coming up as well. It's how you feel about how you're holding yourself right now.
Yeah. And posture.
Holding ourselves, we never let go, do we? You know, there's always something holding somewhere.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like that tension from where some bad thing happened and you had to contract around that feeling of shame or hurt, and the shoulders come in and the chest withdraws and the head drops, that feeling of shame and worthlessness. And it's like then we can go through a whole lifetime of having that posture, and we just identify this is our shape. But it's not, it's constellated around this feeling,
Yeah, exactly.
this experience. So if we could kind of get back to that, to see. I do this so much with my trauma work. A client might be really holding something deeply, and it's like, okay, would you like to walk backwards and forwards across the room and like notice how you're walking? And then they have that experience, and then I say, well, what happens if you put your head up and you look forward when you're walking?
Yeah,
What feels different? What happens if you put your shoulders up and you walk and you're looking straight ahead? What feels differently then?
yeah,
What happened? How are your legs feeling at that? Do you have power in your legs as you're walking? And if not, like, what's your favorite animal? What's a powerful animal for you? What happens if you walk? Like sometimes I say a cat, or I've had like a giraffe, a horse, a lion. What happens if you walk like your favorite animal and they really get into it? Or what happens if you crawl like that leopard? And it makes such a profound change to the body when they start to change that shape, and then they feel so different, and that
yeah,
emotional thing changes,
yeah,
and that hidden package, that dissociated part that couldn't be owned, kind of begins to be integrated and come into that sense of self, that I am good enough, that I'm whole, and I can cope with this situation.
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Big work, big journeys.
And so many subtle layers to it.
Yeah, so many, so
Yeah,
many.
exactly. And that's interwoven. So this is our personal work on this level, personal. And then we have generational, and then we have the collective trauma. And we're talking a lot on this show about what's going on in the mainstream, with what's been happening with the whole, the hoaxes. We have so much deception happening, and so many control mechanisms over people. And how do we free ourselves from these? This is what we're talking about. And you can't affect a change out there, except we can bring things into the light so that people can see. And there's so many attempts to keep things hidden. Yes, that's turned something off. So we've been following Andrew Bridgen, and he's been really, really courageous in pushing and pushing and pushing for the harms that have been done by the jab, and all the thousands and thousands of deaths to be brought forward. And we talked last week about the Office of National Statistics figures being hidden. So they're trying, as much as we're kind of trying to push forward the light and bring things into the light. They're doing their best to close things down.
He's working with Mark Sexton now as well, isn't he? To because Mark Sexton's got that legal case. He's the ex-policeman who's got a legal case about the mass murder. And he's got a case number, and he just gets thrown from pillar to post in the bureaucracy of the police. And there's something that they're now working together in some way, because I heard Mark Sexton mention his name a couple of times when I was watching him the other day.
Yeah, I've got a recording actually of Mark Sexton that I was wondering about playing, where it's a call. To
that really junior police guy.
Yeah.
It's just a joke, isn't it?
Absolutely. I have to move this slightly and plug my computer in. That's it. Yeah, it's excuse me, lighting problems here. We're not in a professional studio, unfortunately. It's just my little living room.
It's big living room.
Big living room. It's welcomed a lot of souls over the years, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's good that Mark Sexton and Andrew Bridgen are kind of joining forces, and it feels like there's this increase in this like coming together of all these different souls around the world that are working for the same thing of disclosing the terrible things that have been happening. So that there's an increase in light. So that's a kind of integration process, isn't it? A societal integration process, rather than us being victimized and made.
Absolutely. And this, we're going to have to watch this little film, because that's exactly what this is about. This little film is about understanding how, even with the system that we've got, there's a big piece missing in what we're not doing as a collective, who are not in agreement to the government and not in agreement to the way the system is governing. But we don't know what else to do. There actually is a huge thing that we can do. And we've already got loads of champions in place, like Mark Sexton and Bridgen. We've got loads of great champions in place that we know we can trust. So to replace the system and put these new people in, it would be just like a really super ideal situation, wouldn't it? But yeah, play the video. So this is about understanding that most of us don't have about voting. I only voted once. I voted for the Green Party. They never won, so I didn't bother doing it again. It's the same with horses on the Grand National. I did it once, didn't win, didn't do it again.
Yeah.
So that's always been my opinion of voting.
Yeah.
Now I've seen this is absolutely changed.
Okay, no, I'm going to try, because I only got your little video right at the last minute and I set something else up. So I'm going to just bear with me. Just keep talking, Marion, whilst I fiddle around with this and try and switch over. So I'm learning this system all the time. It's like
one of the things that we don't see in with the voting system. Well, we can see it, but it's not shown blatantly. We don't see the number of seats compared to the population. We see the number of votes, compared to the population. So when they say there's a 73% thing, it's not of the whole population. It's 73% of the people who voted, and it's less than 50% of people vote ever. So there's 50% people not actually wanting to play this game, but no way of having a voice on it. And this is what this little film is to shine some light on. The other one is called Tacit Consent.
Okay, so
have you done it?
No, I haven't. I still haven't done it. Just bear with me.
Tacit consent is
I've got it. It's just that I need to.
You need to share the screen and then start playing it.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got the screen shared for something else. That's the thing. I was trying to switch it, but so I have to stop sharing that.
Oh, I see. You have to pre-set up the screen share.
Yeah, I was pre-set up with something else. So I'm unpresetting that and seeing if I can now preset with the other thing, the other important. I've got it. Okay, good.
Do it. So yeah, tacit agreement is when you abstain. So you don't vote, but you do because you don't vote, you're not giving your opinion, so they assume your agreement with the opinion that makes the decision. Anyway, do you want to play it?
It's getting...
Norman Normal is having breakfast, a nice cup of tea and a boiled egg. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was Mr. Shitsack from the Conservative and Unionist Party, and he very much would like Norman to vote for him in the upcoming elections. Norman isn't sure. He's heard all these promises before. Tuesday morning, Norman is having a bacon sandwich with a lovely cup of tea. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Who could this be? Norman wondered. It was Smear Stomer from the Labour Party. He said, everything was the Conservatives' fault, and the Labour Party would do everything differently. Even though all the policies sounded exactly the same, Norman isn't sure. He's heard all these promises before. It's Wednesday morning, a beautiful sunny day. The birds are singing and the sun is shining. Norman is having cornflakes for breakfast. Suddenly, there is a knock on the door. Who on earth is that? Said Norman. He was getting fed up with the repetition and lazy animation. It was Dead Wavy from the Liberal Democrats. He said everything was the Conservative and Labour Party's fault, and they would do everything differently, even though his policies sounded exactly the same. He would like Norman to vote for him. Norman isn't sure. He's heard all these promises before. Norman is very cross. His cup of tea has gone cold, and he realizes that all the political parties are exactly the same. They represent big business and the military-industrial complex, and not the people who vote them in to represent them. If only there was a way to tell them we don't want any of them. Norman doesn't know what to do, so he turns on the radio, makes another cup of tea, and sits at the kitchen table when a little song comes on.
If you are feeling dispossessed, wondering what course of action is best, here's a worthy note. Go ahead and spoil your vote and write upon it, I do not consent. Every vote is counted, you see. It's a right that's been bequeathed to you and me, Tory, Labour, Liberals and Greens. Don't understand what this means. Removing them from power is easier than it seems. The majority of people do not vote. Tacit agreement from the most. If they exercised their right, there's no need to stand and fight. We can remove the parasites from the host.
It's Thursday morning, it's raining and gloomy, it's voting day. And Norman knows exactly what to do. For the first time in his life, Norman was going to spoil his ballot and write across it, I do not consent. Norman leaves the house and sets out on the short walk to the voting station. Something amazing happened. Hundreds of people the same thing, leaving the house to show the political class that we no longer have faith in them and spoil their ballot. People who had stopped voting years ago turned up to write, I do not consent on their ballot. Mr. Normal wrote, I do not consent. Mr. Farmer wrote, I do not consent. Mr. Inner City Violence wrote, I do not consent. Mr. Ex-Veteran wrote, I do not consent. Little Miss Nurse wrote, I do not consent. And so did everyone in the town. Jubilant Mr. Normal returned home, made a cup of tea, and sat at the kitchen table to wait for the result. A little after midnight, the news came in. In a free and fair election, I do not consent has it. I repeat, I do not consent has it. Everybody in Happy Town was over the moon. It turned out that everyone in the country had voted the same way. And that's the end of our story from me and Mr. Normal. Goodbye. Please.
What did you think of that then?
Well, that's interesting. Whether that actually,
It is legal. It is law. It's constitutional law. What we vote for is what we get in constitutional law, because we don't vote, we're getting what we're given.
Okay, that's interesting, because that brings me to something else. So just to go on with that. So we're looking for ideas. It's like we're in World War III. We've got an incredibly evil thing going on that's attacking us in all ways. As we talked about, the jabs, the genocides, the stuff they say in the skies, food, the weaponization of the biosphere, as Sasha Stone talks about it, the stuff we change in the sex of people and little children and things. So on every level that you look, we're under attack, and that the people are just beginning to realize, and it can make you feel absolutely exhausted. You know, what hope is there? But doing this inner work that we're talking about, maybe this is what you've just put forward. I do not consent. There's a big push on that movement, isn't there?
Yeah.
And at the same time, as you said, there's all these people coming together and trying to bring the truth out and challenge the government. And Andrew Bridgen just put on his Facebook page a doctor from the Netherlands talking about what happens when you get the jab and what the whole process is, what's happening in your body. And she said, I'm just giving you this information so you can make a choice. And this is the legal situation, that nobody should have been jabbed without us being clearly informed so that we can give informed consent. But that did not happen. In many ways, Pfizer even hid the information. None of us gave informed consent. So it's interesting. Facebook, that was created by DARPA, and the jabs have been created by DARPA. Facebook actually blocked that video and said misinformation. I mean, it's not misinformation, it's a doctor in the Netherlands talking from her knowledge base about the impact, straight mRNA, what happens with your DNA and so on. Anyway, that's been blocked on his page.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it if you go beyond what, they're trying to block you out. So how do we bring the government to account? How do we bring the World Economic Forum to account? What do we need to do? There's so many levels that we have to work on, and one is not to feel disenfranchised or dispossessed or overwhelmed. We have to act. We have to act now. We can't let it go on any longer, because they're doing everything they can to bring us to our knees. And it's already predicted. Population figures in America and here are dramatically, in the next few years, are dramatically falling. And that means, with much less population, how's a society even going to function? Yeah, we're already seeing this. Things are falling apart. So we have to take steps to tackle what they're doing. Otherwise, we're corralled into 15-minute cities and jabbed and chipped and transgenderism, all that stuff that's happening. So
we could remove their seats. We could remove their seats from the ballot, and that would start. I mean, that's never been done in our. It's like, this is the fear, isn't it, of the unknown. People are like, we can't not have a government. There'd be anarchy. Good. Bring the anarchists out. Let's see. I bet you they do a better job. Couldn't do much.
Governing our minds, the mind control. That's what they're doing, isn't it? I mean, Sasha Stone is all for anarchy. It's like, people know. Nature knows how to take care of herself. Yeah. Do we really need a ruling class over us?
We don't need authority telling us nothing.
No. So Chris Coverdale, who I was told about this week, says it's illegal to pay tax to a government that is using our money to cause harm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that it's quite clear that a genocide has been going on. And he defines, as a little video, I can show a little link of it if we've got time or not. But he talks about, there's actually been 3 genocides happening over the last couple of years. There's the genocide of the Midazolam murders. There's a genocide from removing our essential services. So in the lockdowns and so on, people are still. I needed to go to the hospital for a checkup. It's absolutely impossible to get an appointment. people with many people have died from all sorts of heart conditions and cancers and so on, simply because they're not able to go forward and get their treatments because services have been severely curtailed. So that's another genocide, and not to mention the genocide with the jab. So the definition of a genocide is that there has been a concerted attempt by the government on a population that's absolutely verifiable and provable. But there's so much evidence now that this has been done intentionally, that it is treasonous act, genocidal acts against the British population, with the intention of harming people. It's been planned, meticulously planned. We've talked about it. They're still rolling it. It's gobsmacking. Despite all the evidence coming forward, thousands and thousands of doctors and scientists standing up saying harm is being done and showing all the figures, no matter how much the Office of National Statistics and so on try to cover up these figures. It's so clear. Insurance brokers and so on are showing that thousands of people are dying, people who shouldn't die, young people, babies, loads of people. So our government is acting absolutely treasonously, and it's illegal for us to be paying our taxes to them because they are using our taxes for harm. Well, he actually went forward. This guy, Chris Coverdale, he's been to prison 3 times because he was trying to block, he was trying to refuse to pay his council tax, and he ended up in prison for those 3 occasions. And then he said he got wise, because he realized what you need to do is to set up a trust, and you put all your tax money into that trust, and you tell the tax officials, the government or HMRC or whatever, it's like, I'm quite happy to pay my tax, but you have to prove to me that you are not using it illegally for crimes against humanity or genocide and so on. So they have to prove it. So they have to come up with verifiable evidence themselves that they are not complicit in those crimes. Yeah. So that's the first thing. That's the way forward. Is like if everybody withdraws their taxes from the war machine, it's like, how can they actually go forward? They can't. They can't go forward. So there is that level of it. But then the other thing is that he said at the start of the Iraq war, they proved conclusively that a genocide was being perpetrated against the Iraqi people and with Afghanistan. He had a massive evidence. There was a whole body of them going forward to the police again to say there's actually a law saying that our government cannot do this, what they're doing, even though the government is saying, oh yes, under Article 41 of the United Nations Charter or whatever, we're allowed to go into Iraq. Actually, they weren't, because there was another law that overruled that to say that actually that was illegal. So he went to the police with this and said, you have to investigate the government and stop them. But this is the thing, is that the police did not investigate. The police refused to investigate. Just the same.
Exactly. There's no precedent of the police investigating the government. It doesn't really exist, does it? When has it ever actually happened and been successful?
But the government is not above the law.
I know, but that's not the point. You're talking about the rules. I'm talking about what's actually happened.
Exactly.
What examples have we got where the government have ever been held legally accountable? So that us telling them that they have to do that is okay, but there's no way to do it. It's never been done before. They don't even know how to do it. Where would you go to do it?
Well, exactly. And Mark Sexton, although he's coming forward now on the back of Andrew Bridgen, asking for this meeting with the commissioner, the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. It's like Mark Sexton already took that case forward to the Metropolitan Police once and was turned down. So now they're trying another push. So, hopefully they get some leverage on it this time. But we need more leverage. We need people to stand up. We need to do our inner work, and we need to, do the I do not consent. We need to withhold.
Just need to move them aside. There's no point in trying to destroy them, because that's wasting energy. Move them aside. Carry on.
Yeah.
You know, when people allow they're going to get away with it. They always have. They always have. Let's just carry on and build what we want. Stop worrying about them.
Absolutely.
I'm
Stop
not saying
worrying.
I want people to be let off with things, but if the punishment is actually overriding the future, the need for what's actually to be created and built for the future, leave it aside.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
We've got lots of comments.
we got lots of comments. I haven't seen any. Let me have a look, because I've been on a roll. I've been on a roll here, Marion. It's like, woo-hoo. Find your voice, people. Find your voice. I mean, it's a big struggle to find our voices, isn't it? Because it's completely overwhelming, what's going on. I mean, we shouldn't ever underestimate. We shouldn't underestimate the intensity of what we're going through at this time.
No.
Let's look at the. Okay, so Jack says, always vote, but spoil your paper. Okay.
But you spoil it very specifically for the league for it to be legally counted. This is I do not consent. Is what is like they have to legally pay attention to that.
Yeah. So he says
that's yes, it's good to spoil it, but people need to know how to do it.
Yeah, that's right. So what else he said? Yeah, that's why you should spoil your paper, Marion. Otherwise, your protest won't be counted.
Yeah.
And he says, love this film. Which film, Jack?
The cartoon.
Oh, the cartoon. It's a good job I've got you there, Marion.
Mr. Normal and his nice cup of tea.
Oh, yeah. It's good cartoons. Sometimes they hit home much further than...
It's very British. It's very English, isn't it? You know, this normal cup, normal breakfast, normal person.
Your cup of tea. I'm just having my cup of tea. And it's like, who's this lunatic?
Like there's no rebel. There's no rebel in people, in English people. They break and go mental, or they just carry on sucking it up. It's like,
yeah. So we need to do this healing work. Yeah. Where's your inner rebel?
Yeah.
You have to find your inner rebel.
The sovereign rebel.
The sovereign rebel. But you know what? Things are happening, even though it's like we paint this picture of how bad it is. There's so many layers here. One layer is like the intensity, the bigness is way too hard to grasp. That we are actually in a genocide, just the same as what happened. You know, it's happened many, many times before. Rwanda, many countries, they've done this over and over and over. So it's like, one, we have our head in the sand and we don't want to know it's happening, but we have to pull our head up, know that it's happening, and do what we need to do. So we need to nurture this inner rebel, strengthen ourselves, and step up, be active, speak out, share the information. And Debbie says the cartoon reminded me of Mr. Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were great, the names, weren't they?
They were.
Shitsack. Mr. Shitsack was the first one. And then it was, I don't know, Cunty Stoma or something.
Yeah, I think we need to share.
Smear Smarmy or something, wasn't it?
So if you're watching this video and I put links underneath, then get on board and share them around. You know, we need to share them so that each little thing that's done like that can help and to build the greater body of people.
It's a really deep message in it. It's a very, takes a lot of digesting as well, because it's so outside of what we've been educated and experienced with our political relationships.
Yeah.
Or our relationship to politics.
So that's right. So meanwhile, you know, some stunning things are happening, that we are getting some leverage. So in Ireland, did you hear, Marion, that the people of Ireland won the referendum hands down, according to Teslari? Do you know about the referendum? No. So in the referendum, there were attempts to write the family role of women and mothers. Yeah. So Ireland's really been under the clock, the what do you call it, the cosh.
Yes.
With the globalist government there, haven't they? With all sorts of terrible things that's been happened to them. So
Yeah.
anyway, the Irish people, Begara, for sure. I'm part Irish, so I'm not taking it. I'm not being racist. I celebrate my Irish parts when they.
Yeah. I'm way over 70% Irish, I'm sure.
Yeah. So no racism here. We love the Irish. We're Irish.
If you think I'm racist, go feck off.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really great that the Irish have stood up and said no, because this whole push for the breakdown of any kind of identity of male and female within society, and that there is any particular roles. We saw it.
Agenda.
Yeah, that's it. The feminism, for instance, like we're all like burning our bras and things. Oh, this is great, but actually, it was a way of actually starting
their trap. It was like, yeah, you can work as well. You can give us all your energy and your hours as well, and we'll take your children and indoctrinate them. Whoopie do, happy days.
Yeah.
Get on with it, girls. Get out there working. Come on. Study hard, work hard, girls. Yeah. Stop being mothers.
So
give us your children.
the divine feminine, or the wise woman, elder's wisdom. It's like we can only be elders and have wisdom if there's a whole body of society behind us, supporting us, and that behind every woman there's a good man, strong man that's supporting and holding that, and behind that there's a society, and there's that holding the whole structure, and that everybody's working together to maintain this. Everybody has a part in that, and there's been this systematic destruction of the family structure through everything about mutilating our children with surgeries and puberty blockers. So this is another positive piece of information, was that the NHS have now stopped giving puberty blockers in transgender clinics.
Excellent.
So that's a win for us, everybody. So let's celebrate. We're gaining ground, and we have to keep on, not give up. Don't put your head in the sand. So yes. So, and
what was it that you were going to show?
Well, I don't know if I should show it now, but I'll put the link of it. We're on a roll, Marion. We're on a roll, Begara. Where's our Scottish contingent? She hasn't joined us. Where's our little Vibra boxer this week?
Where's the cup of tea?
They're letting the side down. Anyway, I'm sure she'll watch later.
What other comments have we got?
None. Nobody's commenting. Nobody's commenting. Come on, folks. Come on. What are you going to do to nurture your inner rebel? I want to know. Meanwhile, whilst you're thinking about it, do you know that somebody drove a car into the gates of Buckingham Palace?
Good.
Did you know about that?
No. When was this?
Last Saturday. So a guy drove so Buckingham Palace is now completely boarded up.
Yeah, so they moved out during the shenanigans, like quite early on.
Yeah, Vibra boxers here. Bit late, better late than never, my dear. Yeah. Get those muffins on the stove, bring them down here. A little bit of short.
My neighbour calling me. I'll be back in a second.
Where you going?
Just called me name.
So she's off. It's hard to keep this show together with the shenanigans, the comings and the goings, and so on. So, Carol, what are you up to? Are you having your supper there? Are you cooking? It's a bad timing, really, 6 o'clock, because everybody's off doing their cooking and stuff. But anyway.
Sorry, that was an unusual call. So I thought quick. It was just the neighbour. Because they don't normally knock. She had a box for me.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah.
So Vibra Boxer is brewing the tea and making the shortbread.
The tea will be cold by the time you get here.
Yeah.
But the shortbread will be lovely and short.
Lovely and short, yeah. She's a great cook. I know she's a great cook.
Can you make gluten-free shortbread? What would you use?
She can. She does, I'm sure. Can you make gluten-free? I think she can. So
Almond.
Yes. So this particular Vibra Voxer who was here, she used to be here. I love her dearly. Big hugs to you. So she would always prepare the scones and have a nice, when we had guests come in, it's like she would say, oh, a nice smell of bacon is always good. Always settles people in. So she does gluten-free everything, Marion.
I thought you said bacon.
Bacon, not bacon. Baking. You'd have to excuse me.
Well,
Excuse me.
baking and bacon is a delicious combination if you're into it.
Yeah, I'm sure. So Rennie says, I'm working on my inner self and my warrior wisdom as we speak. I'm really focused on helping myself so I can help the collective. Fantastic. That's the spirit we want. We absolutely want that spirit. And it's fucking tough, but we have to do it. And we've got some tough times ahead of us, for sure. It's not going to be a piece of cake. We've got to work hard. We've got to pull together. And we have to use everything in our toolkit to bring, this is a monster that we're facing. We have to bring this monster down between us. And we can do it. So meanwhile, the royal family, for whatever reason, she says it's been hard but a rewarding adventure. So someone drove into the Buckingham Palace gates, crashed their car. The gates are completely boarded up. And then this poor chap was held on his knees by the police while they handcuffed him. So I don't know any more about that, who he was. And then today I heard that also there was a crash into Windsor Castle by another car.
Oh, wow.
So I haven't been able to look at that. So that's kind of interesting. But meanwhile, there's also, I don't know if people listening here, or maybe you've got more information to add, what's going on with the royal family. So there's way more information than I can share here because I haven't managed to track it all down. But
the only thing I've heard is I heard Katie Hopkins talking about how Kate
Middleton.
has changed. Kate has just become, it's like she suddenly put on about 3.5 stone or something.
Well, she was taken just a while back because King Charles suddenly announced that he had cancer, which was on the same day as they also announced that they had one of those things for the treatment of cancer. So that was quite interesting. The new RMNA. So is there a link somewhere there? But anyway, after he had this diagnosis, that they won't disclose what kind of cancer it is, even though he apparently has it. And he's possibly going on holiday, but Camilla is going on holiday, and that's his other half. And neither of those are on active duty as royals. Yeah. So they're off work. Kate is also off work since she was announced that she had some gastric problems around about Christmas. She went in for surgery, and apparently she was kept in the hospital a long time, and the medical people said, yes, Jack, saying the royal family is a distraction. This might well be the case. It may be a distraction, or it may be a distraction for a reason that we have to notice. So we're just mentioning it. Apparently she's not been able to perform any public duties for ages because of this gastric thing. That doesn't make sense. The doctors that are commenting on it saying whatever she had wrong with her wouldn't leave her not being able to perform her duties for several months. There's something odd about it, basically. And nobody has actually seen her since Christmas. Wow. And on Mother's Day, there was a photo of her shown holding her children. And then lots of people analysed it and said it was totally photoshopped from another picture that she'd taken on the front of Vogue magazine or something. So it wasn't actually a photo of her with her children. That was all photoshopped. And then there's a big furore about why is Kate's photo photoshopped and how come no one's seen her? So, the thing is that the royals seem to be disappearing.
Yeah.
And the Norwegian king also was rushed into hospital in some foreign country where he was on holiday and had a pacemaker fitted.
Wow.
So it's like the global royals, what's going on with them? So, just keep your eye out about that. And even though it's a distraction, as Jack says, the royal family is a distraction. There's so many distractions and so many false flags, isn't it? It's like, what is it there? But keep your eyes on the bigger picture. And some people are saying maybe the royals are injured by the jab. We know that it causes turbo cancers. Maybe that's what's going on. And some people think that Kate is injured from the jab. Who knows? Who knows? It's like we're studying it all the time. I watch it day and night, and I'm completely confused about what's going on, because there's layers and layers and layers. But it doesn't change the fact that we need to step up. We need to do our inner work. We need to. I do not consent on our voting forms. We need to withhold our tax into a trust until the government operates legally, which it doesn't do. So. Sorry about that, Marion. I had a bit of a roll. So give us your little bit of wisdom here.
So I was just playing with my acupuncture little magnets.
Oh, yeah.
I've got these tiny magnets. They're really strong. Don't know if you can see them.
So what do they do?
They're really, really strong. So you put the big flat one behind and put the little one on an acupressure point, and it really squashes. And I had it obviously it leaves a sensitive mark when you've done it. So I'm just moving it to a different location.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of pressure there and a lot of magnetic.
Aural acupressure.
Okay. So
there's a whole map, isn't there, that acupuncturists can make of the organs and the systems and the body form, and you can put it on the ear. It's a bit like a fetus.
Yeah. Oh, your ear is like a fetus.
Yeah, it represents a fetus to an acupuncturist map.
Okay, so there's specific points I heard on the ear that are for particular organs. Rather than do body acupuncture, you can do ear acupuncture.
Yeah.
And so with the magnetic field on the ear, that's also influencing the organs.
I think especially with energetic stuff, acupuncture is working through the meridians and the chi energy. And I do think magnetism and chi have got a relationship.
Yeah.
That definitely adds something.
There's so much that we don't know yet, or that's been hidden. It's not that science isn't there. It's being developed a long time ago, as we already know by Tesla and so on, all the sciences.
Oh, I was watching some mud flood fossils the other day, and you know those round rocks that people break in half, and then it looks like one of those woodlice creatures wrapped up like a spiral inside the rock. Have you ever seen those? What are they called?
I used to study trilobites at university.
Yeah, and ammonite. Anyway,
Ammonite.
Those not creatures. Do you know what they are?
Ammonites.
They're not creatures.
What are they?
They're the structures from within our joints, from the joints of giants and the joints of other animals. They're the tendon springs. So, like if you were to flip your hand here, there's all these springy tendon structures around the joints. Like our muscles can't jump. It's because of connective tissue and tension in these spiral things in our joints. And then when we die, they calcify in a different way. And so they create these little structures that are those that look like what are they called? Ammonites. That's what ammonites are. They're not animals. They're actually biological structures from tendons.
You're challenging a very big. I put together a whole book.
I know.
Stratigraphically. No, maybe the two things coexist. Maybe there are giants fossils of giants because there's a lot
Amazing.
of
I know,
evidence.
I completely thought they were like woodlice, but this guy is
No, the
completely...
woodlice is a different thing. Woodlice are trilobites. They're creatures that are trilobites. There's lots of different species of those that I studied for stratigraphy.
Yeah.
Stratigraphy
Yeah,
is
the ammonites are not. Yeah, that's what this guy is saying. They're not, even though the whole world says they're creatures, they're not creatures. They're parts of joints. They're tendon anchors.
well.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's brilliant.
No,
It's called
send
Mudfrost University on YouTube.
I'm not saying that there aren't any fossils of giants, because there's so much information around that as well. Who's the guy in South Africa? Tellinger.
Michael Tellinger, yeah.
He does a lot about, I've seen fossilized skulls and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that around. But I think that there are ammonites as well, because I've studied all the different species and you can see how they change systematically over time. That's a science called stratigraphy. It's like this particular Dactylioscurus, for instance, is the name of one species of ammonite that has that's there for 3 million years. And then there's Hildocrates, which is another ammonite, which is there for another 20,000 years, 20 million years. And then, that is the science of stratigraphy, how you can age the rocks.
Yeah.
And before the ammonites came, there were trilobites. So in the Cambria, in the I did this thing. Camels normally sit down carefully, perhaps their joints creak. So that was a number.
I'm going to send you the link. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating stuff. And we also recognise, don't we, that a lot of our education system is what's enabled our minds to be so misdirected.
Yeah,
I think
who knows what?
When we've spent years going, I'm an expert at this, and I know this, and I studied it, and you find out you know everything that they told you to know.
Yeah, I think what the fact is. What is in time to be human on this planet is like everything that we've studied turns out to be a load of nonsense.
Because academia is a great dividing mechanism, isn't
But
it?
on the other hand, we mustn't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
I'm very good at that.
Yeah, and I'm
on me.
I'm being a balance to you here, Marion, because I do believe that ammonites existed, and I know that trilobites. Because
I'm gonna bet you half an Ethereum.
Oh my God! Okay, it's the do ammonites really exist debate here now. I don't even know if it's an ammonite or a trilobite. They're two totally different creatures. But anyway, I think fossilized joints exist alongside ammonites. That's my thing.
Good.
But I want to see it. I'm going to send you the link.
Very good. It's only a short one as well. He's very good.
Okay, so you keep me on my toes. So Jack said, let's look at the chats. Jack said the royal family is a distraction. Is it more of a distraction, Jack, than ammonites and trilobites? That's what I want to know from you. So, okay, and we have also from Renee, everything is starting to unfold, so much coming to light, the distraction to sneak in their other agenda for the distraction. Yeah, they're causing us distractions so that we're not looking at what's going on. So just keep looking. Mm-hmm. Open your mind to all the different things. Have an expansive mind. Don't get narrowed down into this, because they teach us the educational system is all about us narrowing down to become an expert of trilobites. I could have been an expert on trilobites, but I didn't do it. I actually got thrown out. I was going to be doing a PhD in geology in Antarctica, but they wouldn't let me because I was a woman. It's like we can't have women in Antarctica. They told me. This is what they said to me. They said the men would be having.
That's why they couldn't afford their humility. They didn't have enough humility.
No, they said the men would be having knife fights if there was a woman on board on the Antarctica exploration, which is
woo.
Oh God. Anyway, don't narrow down.
The hour is up. I just heard the chimes finish.
What's that? You heard what? Oh, the clock. We're up for time.
The hour
And
is
Jack says he'll never look at an ear in the same way again.
It's a little fetus.
It's a little fetus. Everybody, we've all got these cute little fetuses on the side of our heads, and it's like
Hanging on to dear life.
Rishi Sunak has got some big ones, hasn't he? It's like
Mr. Shitsack.
Mr. Shipsack. Did you ever seen that film Beautifully Green? Did I show it to you, Marion? It was banned. It was banned I think in the 90s. It's set in France where these people from another planet came down and landed.
Oh yes, yeah, I have seen that. What's it called? Something Green.
Beautifully Green. Oh, it's such a funny film, but it's so funny that they banned it. I mean, they're really showing themselves up by banning things that we make, and so they have to have they come down to Paris, and it's like, why is there dog shit everywhere on the streets? And what's this strange food stuff that people are eating? How could you eat that? And she has to get her feet in water to communicate with her sons back on the planet she just come down from. And then she goes, they do this, and they go, ting. Remember that, to communicate. Oh, Vibravoxer says I was a femme fatale. That's why they wouldn't let me go to Antarctica.
Exactly.
If only I was, but I'm not.
You should just graciously accept.
I'll accept it. That's nice. That's a nice compliment at my age. So my venerable age, Jack says, all those dishy scientists fighting over you on the ice, Juliet. Oh my God, if only. Actually, I think I would have hated to go to Antarctica. It's horribly cold.
So on that Antarctic note.
On that Antarctic note, we better go.
Go and get a nice hot cup of tea. All right.
Okay, a hot cup of tea, and I want to see these inner rebels showing themselves and sharing what I put. Share my Facebook page if you're not too embarrassed, and or put out your own stuff, or start your own show, whatever. It's time for us to step up.
Share that video with everybody. I think if we could make that happen, that would just be like, wow, that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That'd be really cool if we could get the majority vote, don't comply. That would be, or don't consent. That'd be a great little number. I quite like the feel of that.
Yeah, let's do it. We can do it. Be strong. We haven't heard about Julian Assange yet. Still praying for him. So, be strong. We can do it. My rally cry.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely ones.
The people. Namaste.
Big hugs, big kisses, and hearts. Oh, look, I did one. Lots of love to you all. See you again soon. Bye.
Bye.